Hi everyone, here we are back with the gearbox. As you can see, it's now totally out of the tractor, laid on the bench in all its glory. So this is the bottom shaft with its gears. This set of gears here are on hymatt bearings that actually are independent of the shaft, so they're always turning, driven by the input shaft that we have here. There's your high and low range gear. It either sits inside here or it drives onto this one. And then you've got your third and fourth gear in the middle here. Reverse and first. And right out on the end, outside of the transmission case, you have your fifth and sixth. Obviously all these gears, third and fourth, reverse or first, fifth and sixth, they all are dependent on which range this overdrive gear is in. So if it's pushed inside here, it's low range. If it's driving through this gear here, it's high range. There's the selectors, shafts, detents that go inside these selectors in these holes, and there's the fifth and sixth selector with that long arm that drops down to that gear there. As you can see, the gears are all straight cut, so generally straight cut gears are very strong, and unlike modern gearboxes nowadays, which are helical cut, straight gears produce no lateral thrust, so there's no tendency for them to push against each other, trying to move each other one way or the other. The gears in general in this gearbox, they're not brilliant. I'll just get a torch. They have had a bit of abuse. These teeth on their ends should be a bit more pointed so they engage with each other a bit better, and they are a bit rounded over. But for for this job, the tractor's not expected to do days and days of work, so I'm quite happy to rebuild it with the gears as they are. The bearings, on the other hand, are a bit tired. If you can listen to this one, it's very rough. These roller bearings here are a bit notchy. There's a roller bearing, another roller bearing there. The actual roller is very badly pitted. The little bearing here that sits inside this input shaft, it's not the greatest of things. And then this high-up bearing, which is here, it's a bit loose and tired. I'm not a great fan of these types of bearings. They, as you can see, there's an outer race, and then you have your rollers, and then they actually run on the actual machining of the shaft. And of course, if that wears and you put a new bearing on, you don't gain anything because it's still fairly slack. So there's a bit of wear on that one, but I'm hoping it's in the bearing more than on the shaft. We shall see when we get new bearings for it. They are quite a clever design in the way they're meant to work. The idea is that they allow a little bit of movement on the shaft, not restricted by an inner race. But as I say, they do have their downfall. That spiral there is the method of keeping the gearbox oil in the gearbox and not letting it come through into the primary gear area. It screws the oil back into the gearbox. So there's not really a lot more to say about that. They are a very simple gearbox. You can see the sliding gears on the shafts there. You can see the slide, if I move them out of the way. You can see the sliding gears here. So they slide. At the moment, the gearbox would be classed as being in neutral. It's not that easy to tell, really. So the next job, and you'll get a shock here because there's a big A-frame over the tractor. I dragged that out of the shed today, and the next job is to remove the rear hydraulics, be it what it is, and PTO there at the bottom. Remove them, and so we get into the back of the axle. Because as I say, I'm going to split this tractor down into its components, just for the interest really, and probably normally I wouldn't have bothered doing it, to be honest, but I think since we've made a series of videos and there's quite a few people seem to be watching them, have some interest in them, I'll split it down to its components, and we can pressure wash each piece off, shot blast it and get it painted and put back together. So tonight's project is going to be to remove the rear lift and the PTO components, and then we'll have a good view from behind into the bull gears. Also, I think the bearings are a bit jiggered in the on the differential, the two taper roller bearings, and so we probably have to take the differential out anyway. And from what I understand, because I've never ever taken a differential out of one of these, although I've taken the gearbox out on a couple of occasions, you do have to take the axle off to remove the differential. So, you know, it's here to do. So that's what we'll do tonight, remove that rear linkage. Okay then, thanks for looking.